All right, everyone, just push the record button. We had the Q&A, some good questions in there, and some good back and forth, which is really good to see. So the topic of discussion for this week, for this Q&A, is about the fatigue problem. Now, a show of hands that, who's felt wiped out this week, or even, after what should have been a decent night's sleep, you still need that extra coffee to survive that afternoon slump. Bang, me, show of hands, me. So most of them have been there. The thing is, fatigue isn't random. It's not just you being lazy. It's usually a sign that there's something deeper that's off and not quite right. It's not. I also want to break that down into 3 buckets we utilize in the reignite 90 and the 3R method. So hormones, lifestyle, and training. So by the end of you have a little checklist so you can figure out what's your biggest, weakest link. So the first one we'll jump into is going to be the hormones. So these are your body's messengers, okay? They'll run the show when it comes to energy, drive, and recovery. Now, first of all, is we know a hormone, testosterone. It's not just a steroid. All right. Testosterone is a hormone both in males and females. Testosterone is actually in every vertebrate creature in the world. Now, for men, low testosterone means low motivation, poor recovery, low sex drive. For some, erectile dysfunctions, depression, all that. Now, for women, healthy testosterone supports energy, muscle tone, and confidence. When it's low, everything feels flat. Now, let's talk estrogen. And again, estrogen is both for men and female. Okay, so for women, estrogen is critical for your energy, sleep, mood, joint health. It drops during perimenopause or menopause and often shows as a fatigue or brain fog. All right. So, both estrogen and testosterone are having markers there. Now, for men, too much or too little estrogen throws energy balance out of whack as well. Then let's talk about the other hormone, cortisol. This is your stress hormone. It's usually in short bursts, but it stays elevated all day. Okay, so you feel drained, you start craving some sugar, and often you end up with that stubborn belly fat. Then there's the thyroid. So think of the thyroid as your body's thermostat. All right. So if it's running slow, you'll feel sluggish no matter how good your sleep or your diet is. So the red flags for hormones are part of the issues. Okay. So the red flags being the low motivation, poor sleep, poor recovery, poor drive, so on and so forth. Okay. So you're sleeping, but you never feel rested. Your recovery from workouts is poor. Your mood or drive is flat. Your body's composition is changing. It is changing, but it's not changing to the effort you're putting in. So the output versus reward. Okay. So this is where blood work matters. And instead of guessing, a simple panel shows if your hormones, if they're working or not. Okay. So for our Reignite VIP guys, you get the blood work done. We'll do that full assessment for you and provide a report. For everyone else in the classroom, there's the option to purchase a blood work analysis completed, where you get your blood work done, and we'll provide a report on what to do, how to do, a little bit of rest, recovery, training, supplementation, nutrition. So into bucket number 2, we're going to talk about the lifestyles. So this is where most people underestimate the basics. And you'll hear me bang on about this all the time, team, is sleep. So we might have all your hormones in check, but sleep. So both quality and quantity both matter. So 6 hours just isn't enough for most. Even if you feel like you're rested and recovered from a 6-hour sleep, you're not. And the studies prove it, the science proves it. Okay. So, but even one short night's sleep reduces recovery, raises hunger. You got leptin and ghrelin, they're going to start going crazy, and it also blunts your hormones on the next day. So, some little tips here is add in the blue light from your phones. If you're one of those people that have that late night scrolling habit, any alcohol before bed can ruin the quality of your sleep, and it just wrecks your deep sleep at the end of the day. Then part of the lifestyle is nutrition. All right, now skipping meals. People, they go into this huge calorie deficit. They start skipping meals. They're cutting carbs way too low, or they're dropping the healthy fats out of their diet. So that means it's going to be crushing your energy. Okay, so skipping meals? No. We want to make sure we're eating appropriately. Now, why do we want to do that? It's like fueling the body. Think about your car. If you're going to skip a meal, and skip putting fuel in your car, you're going to run out of fuel. You're going to die. On the side of the road, okay? Then you got to call AAA or whoever, RACV, to come pick you up. That's just like having another meal, okay? Now, cutting carbs too low. Now, while yes, there is a protocol that Rock Solid Coach uses called Rapid Fat Loss Protocol, it's for short periods of time. So all these fad diets, keto and low Atkins and all that sort of stuff, at the end of the day, it's simply, sorry, my buddy browser trying to close down on me. At the end of the day, carbs is fuel for your daily energies, for your workouts, all that sort of thing, okay? So you need carbohydrates in your diet. If you're doing those fad diets to lose the weight by simply eliminating a macro, be it the low carb diet, you're simply just removing a macro out of your diet. It's not effective. You will lose weight, yes, but it's not fat. All right. And at the end of the day, we want to be utilizing, your diet, nutrition, and training and supplementation to effectively lose body fat. Okay. Where if you're going to cut away carbs, you're simply losing water weight on your body. It's not weight. It's not fat loss. We want to lose fat. So, in essence, you're going to lose weight. But then when you reintroduce carbohydrates, which you will, because you'll start craving them, and when you're going to crave them, it's going to be fucking donuts and those sort of those multi-combination macro foods. That is an endorphin release for your body. All right, and you'll do it. Now, removing healthy fats. Okay, so this is a big thing too, that people remove healthy fats out of their diet. They think fats are the enemy. Fats are not the enemy. Fats are a big one for hormonal health. And now, what are healthy fats? We're looking at olive oils. We're looking at avocados. We're looking at chia seeds. So fish oils, fishes. So all those sort of fats are really good for hormonal health and maintaining a hormonal production. All right. So into that, your body runs on carbs for quick energy, and fats are for hormone production. And if you lean on caffeine too hard, you're just going to push for the crutch later. Okay. Let's talk about stress as the lifestyle factor. So I have a lot of clients come on board, and we ask this one question: what sort of stresses do you feel throughout the day? Are you low stressed? Are you a moderate stressed person, or are you high stressed, strung out all day? All right, and it's usually a hard one for people to answer. All right, I've got a dog in here at the moment. I'm looking after a dog for a friend. Now, some people think, no, I'm not very stressed out, but they're just so used to living in a stressful state as part of their day to day. All right, but stresses can come from, hey Douglas, stresses can come from family, finances, training, traffic, work. So like I said, work. There's a lot of different factors in there of what stresses can come from. Okay, but sorry, the dog. Sorry, guys. So your body doesn't distinguish the source of the stresses. Okay, stress is stress, but you can carry around all day with you without an outlet. And cortisol stays high. You have insulin problems in there, and you're just going to hold that typically the body fat, hip fat, lower back fat. Okay. So with the cortisol high, and again, this means low energy, poor recovery, and eventually burnout. All right. You need to be looking for an outlet that's going to allow you to de-stress. Now, that could be golf, reading, massage, walks on the beach, walks with families, meditating, journaling, deep breath exercises. There's a bunch of different out there, going out for dinner, a bunch of different avenues out there to de-stress, going to an extreme sports events, whatever's going to take your mindset away from where you're currently feeling, where you're currently doing it at that time, that's going to make you feel, refreshed and have some fun. It's a good outlet. This is very individual to every person. I have many different outlets. Me, gym. Okay, me de-stressing is doing these things where I get so much out of this by giving back to other people, because then this is free. But I enjoy doing this for everyone, and it makes me feel good about myself, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So it's de-stressing for me. So I've utilized a bunch of these things. Going for a walk as well is a good one. You've had a very stressful day, just go for a 10-15 minute walk. Massage is a great one. I've seen this in myself and in clients. So sometimes you think that you're being disciplined and clean eating and tough schedules, but really you're just underfueling and undersleeping, and you're not attacking the stresses in your day to day to really better the lifestyle. Now let's talk about bucket 3. All right. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about training and exercise as a stressor. Okay. Because bucket 3 is training. So, it's a good one. So if it's balanced, if it's a training cannot be a stressor, okay, but too much or with too little recovery becomes another drain on you. Okay, so let's talk about like overtraining versus under recovery. So I have a lot of people saying, oh, should I be doing more HIIT class? Should I be doing more stairmaster? Should I be doing more sets, more reps, more this, more that? I can train 7 days a week. Yeah, we could all train 7 days a week, but you're going to fucking burn out. You've heard me about recovery is the key to longevity and continuing. Okay, the gym is only half of the equation. The real progress happens during rest, and we need appropriate rest. You know, it's just like any marathon runner, triathletes, super marathon runners, they all need rest. Competitive bodybuilders, they don't train 7 days a week. While they still get their total daily energy expenditure, they're not training, balls to wall every single day. All right. So there's some common traps I've seen is like doing HIIT or boot camps 5 times a week. They're very strenuous. They're very stress inducing. And typically a lot of the people who are doing these HIIT or boot camps 5 times a week, they come back to, when we come back to the other bucket, we're talking about the lifestyle bucket, about nutrition. They're skipping meals, they're cutting carbs, they're trying all this HIIT, these boot camps, and it's just a common trap. It's too much work with very little reps. A lot of people, they're chasing constant PBs or constant progression with no deload weeks. Now, a lot of clients come on and they don't deload at all. They just constantly train. And then they find like, okay, I'm plateauing on strength, I'm plateauing on improving, I'm plateauing on fat loss, I'm plateauing on my ability to walk every day. All right. They're not doing any deload weeks. Deload is a good structured plan to make sure you're resting and recovering for that week, so you can come back into your next training cycle with that more strength, ready to rock and roll. So it's about injury prevention and longevity. Deloads are so important. And you're following a program that simply doesn't fit your age, your lifestyle, or your recovery ability. So you've jumped on ChatGTP and you've said, write me a program for this, and it spits out this generic program. I've seen it fucking 100 times already. All right. It doesn't take into account your injuries, your ability, your recovery, your work training style. There's so many things that it doesn't take into account. Or the same thing as you've got yourself a little coach there, and they're just doing copy paste with their training programs. Again, it doesn't fit your age, your lifestyle, your recovery ability, your goals, your experience level. There's so many things in there that's a common trap, that the program doesn't fit you and what you need to be doing. So some warning signs on the training is that the strength or the performance is dropping, even though you're working harder. No matter how hard you push, the strength's just going backwards. The performance is not there. So that's a warning sign. Now, if you've got those constant DOMs, so DOM being the delayed onset muscle soreness, or little niggling injuries that just won't go away. All right. So if you're training legs and 5 days later, you're still sore. If you're training back and 4 days later, you're still sore. You've got that constant little shoulder pain just won't go away. That lower back just won't go away. Those constant DOMs and constant niggles is a warning sign that you're overtraining and under recovering. Another one is feeling wired at night, but exhausted during the day. Now, how does this occur? So during the day, you're constantly moving. You're constantly on the go. You've got those little stressors are triggering you all the time. So your fight or flight response is really being nailed. So you're really exhausted for the day because so much is going on. And then at night time, everything's gone. So it's just like, what am I going to do? Your body's already on that state of alertness from the day of being so wired. Okay, so that's another common warning sign. So. If your training's leaving you crawling throughout the week, it's not working for you. Okay, training should give you more life outside the gym, not less. Okay, so again, overtraining versus under recovering, big ones. That's our 3 buckets, team. So you can do a little bit of self audit, and you can use it right away. Okay, so number 1 is sleep. So let's review your sleep. So are you averaging 7 to 9 hours, and is it decent quality? Or are you just lying to yourself? Okay. Easy way to track it is through your Apple Health iWatch. There's a bunch of different trackers out there. I use an Aura Ring. Fitbits do it. Samsung have a watch as well. There's plenty of ways of tracking your sleep. The other way is just have a hygiene sleep schedule. So when I say hygiene sleep schedule, is what I'm going to go to bed at the same time every night. The appropriate temperature set in the room, the appropriate coverage on your bedding, no vampire lights in there, and try and cut away your social media an hour before you go to bed. So have that sleep hygiene set up and go to bed at the same time. And then when you wake up, whatever time you set your alarm, or if you're not an alarm person, what time do you get up? So, let's say that's 10 o'clock and you get up at 6 o'clock. So there's 8 hours. So you can start tracking yourself there. Now you got to be truthful with yourself, okay? Now, fuel. You do, what are you eating? Are you eating balanced meals? Are you eating enough carbs? Are you eating enough fats? What's your protein? Is this the protein? Is it the right amount of protein to support your activity? Your goals. So really think about your meals. Are you having the right amount of veggies? When I say vegetables, like multiple different colors, different sources for the vitamins and minerals, electrolytes, potassiums, and fibers. Okay. So make sure they're balanced, whole foods, lean meats with some healthy fats in there. Look at your stress. So ask yourself, do I have a daily outlet to actually reduce my stress? Whether it's a breathing technique, is it just a quick short stroll at your lunchtime? What's your daily? So journaling, stretching. If you are working in office environment, just jump up, go for a quick like a 2-lap around the office, do some stretches, sit back down. It's going to reset, get some blood flow back to the body, and help you keep on going throughout the day. It's going to help with your aldosterone throughout the day as well. And then number 4, think about your training. Is my program actually progressive and structured? When I say progressive and structured, so you have your 3, 4, 5 training days per week. Is each week actually working towards progressive overload each week, where it's going to be like intensify each week, and then you come to a deload week, you deload, bang, we start again and go rinse and repeat. All right, we're always pushing for more. So more intensity, whether the intensity is coming from mechanical volume, if it's coming from rest times, how it's coming from mechanical load, how is it progressing? Or are you just punishing yourself to burn calories? Actually, ask yourself that. Are you just punishing yourself to burn calories? Why are you there? And I think there comes down to 3 types of people in the gym. You have people who exercise, you have people who train, and you have people who just go there because they're trying to lose weight. So you got those 3 people there. Now, what is people who train? Okay, people who train, they've got structured programs, they've got a coach, they've got progressive overload, they're trained with intent and purpose. All right, that's people who train. People who exercise, they just go there and throw some weights around. Okay, there's not really a set program, set structure. Maybe they've got something off the internet, or they're doing something from a YouTube influencer. Those are people who exercise. Okay, and then you got the people who are trying to lose weight, and those sort of people are usually the ones who are like the fad diet. They're trying to do the juice cleanse. They'll go on the stair machine for an hour. They're just trying new things. Okay, but they're just trying to lose weight. There's no structure there. So think about that. Those are the 3 things. Okay. And then let's see, like one simple trick is just, track your energy in the morning. How are you feeling? Just do that little self-assessment. You're dragging your feet. How do you feel in the afternoon? All right. And then how are you feeling at nighttime? Just do that for a week. Just do it 3 times a day. Just think about it. Just set an alarm on your phone. Just think about it in the morning. In the morning, a bit tired. Don't feel like I slept right. All right, cool. Think back. How long did I get sleep for? Did I go to bed? What did I do before I go to bed? How much did I eat the day before? Then think about the lunchtime. How are you feeling? Are you a little bit perked up? You're under a bit of stresses? Have you had 3 coffees beforehand? And then see how you're feeling at night time. All right, the patterns, they'll always pop up. So maybe your slump comes after you've skipped lunch. Maybe your slump where you're crashing is because you've had 4 coffees in the morning and none in the afternoon. Maybe it was the late night email you sent the night before that's killing your sleep. So once you see the patterns, you can fix that. Okay, we talk about a lot of pattern in my habit formation course in the classroom. Jump in that team, have a go at it, and just do that self-assessment. So there's 4 tips, that little self-assessment you can do there. Okay, so look, fatigue, it isn't a simple one. It's not a simple problem we can just bang fix. Okay, it's usually a blend of hormones, lifestyle, and training. Those 3 buckets which we've talked about. Okay, the trick is to finding your weak link. So which one of those three buckets feels like it's draining you the most right now? All right. And I'll give you the challenge. Okay. So pick one small shift this week. Do your self-assessment and pick one small shift. So maybe it's go to bed 15 minutes earlier, or eat a proper post-workout meal, or replace one punishing workout with a recovery walk. Okay. Let's just do that this week. Do that self-assessment and pick one of those three. Okay. The next week, if your hormones feel like it might be your culprit, maybe we'll dive into some blood work and go back to basics. And look at and maybe get you in and get your blood work done, and we can do a full analysis for you. All right. So team, thank you for being here. Appreciate everyone. Thank you for the Q&A at the start. And everyone, until next week, I look forward to seeing you all until then.